Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we could be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate you. And welcome to another edition of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zhu and P-Bush. How are you fellas doing?
Just doing absolutely fantastic, man. Just a 4-0 fantasy week. Absolutely beautiful. Locked in the playoff spots in 2 out of 4 leagues, man. Just some glorious football outside of that absolute atrocious Bears loss, man. Man, Eberflus, man, I'm not even going to – you gave me my Bears corner last week, and I got most of it out, but –
Not all of it.
I'll say this week. Caleb looked really good. He looked assertive. He was making damn good throws when they needed him to. I liked what he outplayed Jordan Love in that game. I know the scoring wasn't reflective of that, but I just thought his poise in that last-minute drive, that back shoulder to Rome was beautiful. But – they got to get the kinks out, man, and one of those might be the head coach. Sean's a big Ben Johnson to Chicago guy, and I completely agree with that if they can pull it off.
Yeah, this week, man, just pain and suffering. And the final stages of grief, you're in acceptance. Monday night, I was doing a little bargaining with the fantasy guys. Okay, just give me CD to pull a miracle. Pull a 3-tutty. Pull a Jamar Chase for me, please. Just give me the strength. Lord did not give me the strength. I watched that atrocity, that Cowboys offense. Oh my, Cooper Rush, Turpin, Rico Dowdle. See, what an atrocity. What an atrocity. So after that, I am full acceptance. My team sucks. Sorry, Josh Allen, Devon Achane, you showed up. Tyree, he actually got a tutty for once. Yeah, David Montgomery, MVP. D-Mont for MVP. That dude's an absolute workhorse, but when you got guys like Aaron Jones and Garrett Wilson put up doofus games, you just got to move on. That team is dead. You just got to move on from the L, man. You just got to move on from your losses. You take your hits where it is, man. You reanalyze your draft. You see some new moves you made. My last trade, thought I was getting. I got a little. I traded for my MVP. I got a little bias. I traded for the MVP. Who I like that bet right now. Josh Allen looks like the MVP, especially with that MVP
for sure.
play. Yeah. But that inner bias to me, I was like, I traded for the quarterback, gave him my boy Josh Jacobs, man. I liked him all year, having multiple leagues, shipped him off, he just drops a 20 piece. Just drops a 20 piece, man. Just an easy 20. And then Puka, my old guy, Puka Chu, my face of the franchise, I traded him. Shame
and you know, for all of our listeners, the recipient of that trade is yours truly over here. Man, so.
Yeah, not gonna lie. For the first time, I would say in our fantasy football trading history, man, you fleeced me. You got me.
I fleeced you finally.
You got me. This is the first time. It has not. This does not. This does
it's
not
either
happen.
been even or it's been you winning.
Yeah, this does not happen. Ever. I don't recall anything like this. But after watching that game, just questioning my decisions and that last midnight strike. I still remember it was 12:20 at night. I was just contemplating, just staring at my phone for like half an hour. And I guess I made the wrong decision. I thought it was Daryl Morey. No, it was more like Arturas Karnisovas of the Chicago Bears, man. Just lost the trade. Man. Jesus Christ. Have mercy on my soul.
Tough fantasy year, man. It's just been a brutal fantasy year overall. Just injuries.
No, not to the running back. Running backs are back.
True.
Yeah, they might be back. It feels like they made a massive resurgence, especially the guys who are like, we talking about J.K. Dobbins, like, holy cow, you got him. Oof. You're sitting pretty. You're sitting pretty in fantasy.
Yeah, that was good.
He was going late. But here's the thing, guys. It's the old heads that are carrying the fantasy this year. Mixon.
That to you.
Yep.
If you consider Saquon, he's kind of in that age for a running back now. Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, right? All these guys. Just veterans are the ones taking over.
So, yeah, the old school RB1s that went consensus. People called them old. People didn't draft them early, and they're producing.
You know, what else is very startling about CD, especially that Cooper Rush threw 55 times and could not get CD to go. That says something. Like, was it Turpin had like 3 catches?
That was a great route.
It's like, what? How do you throw the ball 55 times and you can't get CD going? That's Just
I think
speaks
he has
to
a better.
him
You know
as-
what? I will say I think he has a better game if Jake Ferguson doesn't get injured.
Yeah, he got
because you
concussed.
have to respect Ferguson on kind of the check down or short route, and that just opens up the middle of the field for CD. And if Turpin was able to get open and score a nice touchdown, but
Yeah, I know that's what I was
man.
saying. Yeah, I got off of my Ferguson stock and made a pretty decent trade for him. But like I said, once I saw Cooper kind of man in the front line of the Dallas Cowboys, no, I got off of that stock. So like I said, fantasy will always give us spirited debate. But speaking of the NFL, we are going to get into the NFC West. I don't know if you guys are aware, but the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks are basically tied. I don't know what their division record is, but in terms of their overall record, they're 5-5, and it kind of got me to thinking, like, Matt Stafford, the Rams, they won their championship a couple years ago. They're trying to piece it together. They kind of trade a lot of their picks, but I will say some of the picks that they've made have hit, and same with the 49ers. Like, I don't know. Like, I think they're a good team, but they've had some weird type of games this year. So, asking the guys, like, if you had to place your money on a team that was going to go into the playoffs, will it be the Los Angeles Rams or the San Francisco 49ers? And P-Bush, you can kickstart this debate.
Well, I'm going to caveat this with actually saying I would be betting on the Cardinals, if I'm being completely honest. They have the easiest schedule of the three remaining. I mean, if you look at the games, I'll start with the 49ers here. They got to play the Packers, the Bills, the Bears. They play the Rams, the Dolphins, the Lions, and then the Cardinals. I mean, that's not easy, and they're not guaranteed. I mean, didn't the Rams best them earlier this year? Or am I thinking that wrong? But either way,
I think they got them.
They're not as dominant as we've seen. I mean, they got CMC back. I really credit Debo's slow week. I thought he was going to have a great week. I know he was one of my guys in DFS last week that I was highlighting. But I think that Kittle late marked out was huge because they don't have Ayuk. Sure, Jawan Jennings is a pretty legit wide receiver. He's kind of on that Darnell Mooney track a bit of a very solid wide receiver too, if you get him in the right system, and we know what Shanahan can do. But not having Ayuk, and then when you have Kittle missing a game, I mean, it just allows defenses to completely hone in on Debo Samuel. Sure, CMC is going to get his. But when they give Debo all of the coverage, it opens up things for Jawan, but he can only do so much. And when they lost Bosa in the second half there to his hip or hamstring, whatever it is, his lower leg injury or upper leg injury, I should say, that just crushed him. I mean, they should have won that game. I think Geno, if Bosa's on the field, they keep Geno contained on a lot of those runs kind of towards the end of that game. And obviously the game-winning run that he had was unbelievable. Shout out Geno Smith, man, just running like that. Incredible. In his early 30s still. I mean, 49ers, I like them as a team. I think they're always going to be around. But here's the thing. The NFC West, you know this, they're usually a team that spits out one or two wildcard spots ever since they added a third and final wildcard. This year might not be the case because of the NFC North, and then you got the race in the NFC East between the Eagles and Commanders. It's very possible that only the division winner makes it to the playoffs in this NFC West. So, the Cardinals, I'll just caveat it and say if I'm betting money, I'm probably betting on the Cardinals. But if you're asking me between the 49ers and Rams, the Rams got to get Kyron going, man. These last couple of weeks, ever since Puka's come back.
Yeah, ever since Puka and Cooper Kupp,
you
got two elite receivers. So
they're just passing the ball. And Colby Parkinson finally made a return to his fantasy value this past week with a nice touchdown from Stafford. Stafford's obviously, we know what he can do. He slings it. But teams have to learn to respect the run against the Rams so that they can open up the game even more than they already do for their stud wide receivers. And Kyron just hasn't been able to do that as of late. As a guy that, early second round picks in a lot of fantasy drafts, this guy was supposed to be probably a top 6 RB this year, kind of reflective of last year when he didn't even play a full season. And the Rams don't really have an excuse for health anymore. They get, like you said, Zoo, they got both their guys back on the outside. Kyron has stayed healthy. Their defense has been a little bit iffy. I think that's definitely a thing we haven't been used to seeing with this Rams team. Obviously, the loss of Aaron Donald is a big caveat of that. But I just can't confidently put this Rams team in. I think they lean too much on the offense. They don't have enough defense. And when they get into those divisional games against the Cardinals and the 49ers, which they play each respectively one more time, and then they also play the Seahawks as well. But they got to go play the Eagles and the Bills too. I mean, that's just brutal. So, I mean, I'd probably bet the 49ers here if you're asking me between those two. But I just think both of those teams have very difficult paths to win the division. And I think that you have to win this division this year to make the playoffs. So betting Cardinals, but if you're asking me for between these two, I'm going 49ers.
Yeah, for me, it's not even close. It's the 49ers.
Mm.
I think they're a better offensive team.
Yeah.
Especially with CMC coming back from an injury. I know George Kittle's a little banged up. They're going to need George because George Kittle and Brock Purdy, they have an elite chemistry together for quarterback, tight end. They just know how to play together. And with Ayuk being out, Ayuk just ain't that valuable because you got Jawan Jennings, who's probably the best third wide receiver I've seen in the NFL right now. Because every time a guy gets injured on the offense, he steps right in as that slot guy, that third down guy. I would say and he just comes in and does absolute work every single. He's kind of like an Amon-Ra slot guy. That's his role on this roster, and they haven't really missed a step without Brandon Ayuk. So I'm with CMC coming back, he's the key to the offense because he unleashes the red zone offense. Them in the red zone this year has been abysmal without CMC. Yeah. We all remember last year, Christian McCaffrey in the red zone was a touchdown every single game. So they got to get him going. Obviously, he's coming back from injury, so he's not the explosive guy, but give him a couple of weeks and him getting back in his prime, they're going to need CMC in the red zone to finish the deal. Because right now, for me, we're finally getting to see this whole Niners team, obviously without Brandon Ayuk. They don't need him. So for me personally, better offense and a better defense than the Rams, Matthew Stafford and the Puka show and the Cooper Kupp show. I think that offense is it's very predictable. They like force feeding their playmakers. And you got guys like
Puka.
like Puka.
Yeah.
He's got that yak in him. He plays with a ferocity. When he gets the football, now every time I watch him play, I'm kind of nervous he's going to get injured because the way he plays is extremely, extremely aggressive and physical. He has that physicality to him. So those receivers, I understand the offense, they force feed them. But I feel like the 49ers has an offense that's more creative, of having multiple different types of playmakers, while Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, I know what this Rams team is running offensively. And defensively, I don't even think it's good. I think the Niners team is just a lot better than this Rams. Especially, I remember in the beginning, their Rams defense was savaged by injuries. But still right now, I still don't think they're an elite or even an average defense. No. So for me personally, I'm going with the team that's been in the NFC Championship for multiple years. And even though their record, by definition, they're average. They're 500. They're mid right now. But with getting CMC, which is the biggest key addition for me personally, I'm ready. I'm ready for
Kittle
to make another. Kittle for sure. Make another run to the playoffs again. So off to a slow start, but all these injuries piling up. Guys are getting healthy, so let's see CMC back in action because he's the guy that unleashed this team.
Let me just say this real quick. The Cardinals' schedule, just so everyone knows, they play the Seahawks twice. I think they could split that pretty easily. They could even win both games. They get to play the Vikings, who have started to come back to earth, as we kind of all predicted a couple weeks ago. The Patriots and the Panthers. And then they play the Rams and the Niners twice. If they go 2-2 in those divisional wins, they could win the other three. And they're probably winning that division.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have a game lead right now. I know that doesn't solidify anything. But the Pats and Patriots plays there, man. I don't think either of the other two teams have an easy game on the schedule. I think the Rams play the Saints once. Maybe that's considered to be an easy game. But Olave might be back at that point. Who knows? Still up in the air. So it's just something to monitor. If you want to bet Cardinals to win the division, you might get some decent odds in there because I'm sure people are putting money on the Niners right now.
No, people still, I think, got most of their money on the Niners because of just they've been in the NFC Championship game however many times in the Super Bowl. So, plus two, I think Kyle's record after the bye week is pretty ridiculous. He turns it on. So I think he kind of just knows how to get his team in gear to finish out seasons. But since you guys took the Niners, I'll probably try to make the argument for the Rams. To you guys' point about Puka and Cooper, one thing that I do like about both of those receivers is they kind of are the same, but not really. Cooper's more of an underneath. Not Puka, but Cooper maybe is a little bit more underneath. You can rely on him. Puka's maybe a little bit more downfield. And I think that just gives Stafford a whole lot more options. And with the tight end that they got, am I saying he's a game changer? No, but I think within that offense, he's really, really good. I actually think if they were somehow to, maybe in the draft, if they have the pick capital to do it, like if they were to get a dynamic tight end, that offense would, I almost think, be unstoppable because Stafford is really good at distributing the ball around to different playmakers and stuff like that. I still haven't lost faith in Kyron, but he does need to get it in gear because not even just from a fantasy perspective that we were talking about, like to win in the playoffs, you need to have a solid running game. And that's one reason you can make an argument for the 49ers because McCaffrey's been gone the entire year, even though they did piece it together really well with Jordan Mason. Like he did an admirable job, but McCaffrey obviously is a better back. So if he does get into a second year, I can see that argument. But I'm also looking at this like, who do I trust more? Like,
Brock Purdy.
I think I trust Stafford more. I think if they both go head to head, I think Stafford is because Stafford's one of those guys, like he was in Detroit so long. So like I kind of did like that he went to LA and actually won because I don't think people realize how talented he was. And he's an older quarterback that's still kind of like, he can. There's not a lot of guys I would choose over Stafford. Like we all know the top 4, 5, 6, they're all dynamic guys. But like once you start getting into that mid tier, whatever,
Jared
like
Goff,
first and like I would rather have Stafford than Jared Goff. I would.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
The Rams are happy they did.
If Stafford was with this Detroit team now, it would be a no doubt they're going to. It would be no doubt about it, and he would be breaking probably all kind of freaking records. But, besides that, like I do think like with the Rams, I think with those two elite receivers that they have versus you would say the 49ers, like I am a huge believer in Debo. Juwan Jennings is a great revelation. It is crazy that they just pay Ayuk and it kind of seems like you don't need them. So that is kind of concerning.
They can
get off them. They can maybe
might trade him
off season. Yeah, they probably will get him to like a team that would need a number one. But
Chargers.
I just think do you say who do you say?
Chargers.
I thought you said Rodgers. I was like, come on.
No, Rodgers has enough wide receivers.
He's got enough receivers, man. Yeah. But no, I just think with the Rams, what I could ultimately see is Kyron's going to find his second footing. And with those receivers and that explosive tight end, I think they could be more of a threat to just finish out the games. Because I think both schedules that both of those teams have are not easy. So it's just going to be about who's going to be able to make more plays.
Yep.
And the thing about the defense, too, is like, I think part of the reason why the Rams were not good on defense because they had to kind of replace a lot of guys on that front line and kind of a little bit in the, I guess you would say the front seven. And I don't know if you guys have been watching the two rookies, Verse and Fisk, but like I was looking up stats and looking how they've kind of played this year. Like if you combine both of those guys' stats, like right now, I want to say that they combined for 9 sacks and 11 tackles for loss. Two of those guys, like two rookie guys. So one's a D tackle and one's a defensive end, both from Florida State. So I think if they continue to show that they're they're in the NFL system and they can kind of keep thriving, they keep coming along, man. It might be a situation where come playoff time, if they make it in there, they could be a havoc and a force. And like I said, I think with Stafford, it's not like they have to be holding teams to like, 15, 12 points. Like as long as they holding teams under 20 or right around 20, I think they can win most of their games. So I think the Rams, just because of the explosive ability of Stafford and that, he's shown it. Like, as much as we love the 49ers, they keep getting to the doorstep but can't figure it out. Stafford figured it out while he beat, Joe Burrow, I think. So he beat another dog that was on the other side. So I think Stafford and that team has kind of, started not even started slow. They were awful at the beginning. I think they were like, 0-3, 0-4? Like they didn't start well. But they kind of, they're starting to figure it out. And that, happens when your best receivers get healthy. So I think I'm going to roll with the Rams. But to your point, I didn't even think about it. I was just looking over to like the Cardinals record, or the schedule. Yeah, that might be I don't want to say it's a sucker bet because the Cardinals still like they could turn.
They could falter.
They could turn into a pumpkin, but I might be like if we're basing in versus Minnesota, I have more faith in Arizona than Minnesota. I think they're kind of the rails are gonna fall off soon. So that might be a good bet. I didn't think about the Arizona bet, so I'm into that one for sure. But we're gonna see NFC West. Like I said, we always have these predictions of how these, I guess you would say, division races are gonna go. But NFC West is gonna be good for a while, so we'll see how that kind of shakes out. But speaking of quarterback play, with how I was just trying to compare Stafford and Purdy, watching Sunday, man, Bo Nix go off against the Atlanta Falcons, and just full disclosure with my bets that I'm with you. Like I know Zhu, you played him in fantasy, but like I was pissed because I was just thinking the Falcons were gonna maybe answer the bell and try to stifle Bo Nix, but Bo Nix just went against the Falcons like it was personal or whatnot. And I'm pretty sure he went before Michael Penix, or did he go after? I think he went after Michael Penix.
He went after Penix.
He went after.
So maybe that was the reason why he went off against the Falcons. But it got me thinking with, a little bit up the road, looking at the Colts and how I know it's the Jets and the Jets are kind of giving up, but seeing how Anthony Richardson bounced back, I just wanted to get maybe a temperature check on we knew the top two quarterbacks in that draft was Jaden Daniels and it was Caleb Williams. I don't know why I was thinking Bo Nix, but those top two quarterbacks were consensus. We understand that. But there was a lot of conversation about Bo, him going that high, and then there's been a lot of conversation about Anthony Richardson with him kind of, getting benched by Joe Flacco and then coming back in. So I wanted to ask the guys, from this point forward, who would you be more comfortable being your quarterback one? And Zhu, you can go ahead and take the reins on this one.
Oh, this one hurts, man. After watching Bo Nix put on, I would say, a clinic. These are words I never think I would come out of my mouth. Bo Nix in a clinic. 28 for 33, 307, 4 tutties, just pretty much perfect football. Every single time I watch the game, wide open guy for another tutty. Oh, no, he's rushing. Oh, my gosh, this Atlanta Falcons defense sucks, and this guy's exposing the crap out of it. So, Bo Nix, I got to give him flowers. He's having a terrific year. He's probably second in the race for Rookie of the Year.
He might be leading.
Yeah, he might be leading.
He might be leading, bro. If he keeps Jaden better play well down.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Jaden Daniels post rib injury.
Yeah.
Post rib, that thing, the rib injury, it's affected him. It's absolutely affected him completely. So he's not the same player right now. Well, Bo Nix, this is what I gotta say. I'm gonna give Bo Nix a lot of credit, but I'm giving a lot more credit to the head coach, Sean Payton. This guy and his quarterbacks and his teams, all he does is outperform expectations. Because if you're looking at this, look at this Denver Broncos team, 0 expectation, 5.5 wins, ready to hit the over in 11 games. So a lot of what Bo Nix is doing is that the coach is putting his players in position to be successful.
Yep.
And I'm not taking away from Bo Nix. Bo Nix doing great right now. I remember in a couple of the beginning, he had all these guys he's over missing players. He's a good athlete. I got to give him he's a really, really good athlete. We saw that play where he got the receiving touchdown. He's a really good athlete. He has a lot of experience in college, one of the most seasoned college quarterbacks in NFL history. So I got to give him, he has experience. He's a good athlete, but I think this is a Sean Payton product right here. It's a Sean Payton product, and I'm going to go with AR, Anthony Richardson, because I imagine if Anthony Richardson was in a Sean Payton offense, he would be able to maximize his abilities. Because I just think Sean Payton is one of those coaching geniuses where he just elevates a franchise. We see what the Harbaugh guy is doing in the Chargers. You got Brandon Staley, you got Harbaugh, real coach. You run the football, you see what they're doing down there. Now you see what Sean Payton is doing with a bunch of Javonte Williams and Jaleel McCockins and Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton down there. So I think the coaching is what elevated him. His numbers are really, really good. But for me, Anthony Richardson's potential and his physical frame, man. I still remember last year we had this debate. Anthony Richardson or C.J. Stroud. I remember that. You guys remember that? I remember that.
I took AR too.
We can't be giving up on Anthony Richardson that fast. After I know the Colts kind of did it for a couple of games.
They did.
Good old Joe Flacco. I think that's just an overreaction. Joe Flacco ain't gonna do nothing for you. He's a backup. He's a really good backup. But benching AR, I thought it was a mistake. He needs to get reps in because
bingo.
You're talking about Bo Nix, one of the most seasoned college quarterbacks. AR is the exact opposite. He's the exact opposite. He has 0 reps as a quarterback. So this guy just needs to be on the field and getting reps, and he needs to make mistakes and learn from them because I think he's a smart guy. He has all the physical tools. And I even think the Colts coach, I don't think he's as good as Sean Payton, but he did good things for the Eagles. So he did great stuff with Jalen Hurts. So I feel like he just needs to get reps in with this roster right now for him to develop his skill set. And he's only in year 2 right now. So, but if you look at the age, Bo Nix is older. Bo Nix is
24.
Yeah. So that
doesn't really matter with quarterbacks. It's not like it's running backs here. Actually, it matters more with Anthony Richardson because of how physical he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. His shelf life might be like a Cam Newton. It might not be as long as other traditional quarterbacks. For me, I'm still going the upside with AR just because of the potential. And the Bo Nix factor is just mainly Sean Payton. Like, if Sean Payton wasn't the head coach, if it was like Matt Eberflus or something, and he's doing this.
Come on, man.
Okay, now we're talking.
Perfect.
Now we're talking. I'll be
pocket.
like, this Bo Nix is overcoming incompetent coaching and an incompetent franchise and getting it done.
Well,
Okay.
Zoo, they would have blown a 21-6 lead if Matt Eberflus was the coach, man. Come on, man. So all right, so you're going AR. I didn't think you would. I mean, I actually shouldn't say that. I knew you would go AR because of what he did to you this weekend, Bo Nix. So it was just a bit of a.
I was ripping my eye about like Bo Nix is putting up more fantasy points than Josh Allen. Jesus, have Lord have mercy.
And let's be honest, Zoo, it isn't the first week that he's done that.
No, he's been very consistent.
Very
I give him props to that,
especially since like week 4 or 5. I would say was when he kind of got. Like, okay, I just got to trust that Mr. Payton over there, man, is going to call me the right plays, and he's done exactly that. And that's why I'm taking Bo. Because it has nothing to do – sure, you could talk about talent. You could say, yes, Anthony Richardson has a higher ceiling. But we're talking about the team that they exist on, the coach that they have. And we know – I know personally, quarterbacks that have consistent coaching changes never succeed. Never succeed. And I know Shane Steichen has done pretty well with Indianapolis, but he's not like locked into his job. They're not offering him an extension because of this year. But with Sean Payton doing what he's doing, you better believe he's going to be there for the long haul. And if him and Nix can stay on the same page for years, you actually give him some weapons instead of Devon Vele, Troy Franklin. Cortland Sutton's respectable, I'll give you that. And Javonte Williams is okay. I like the Audric Estime too. But you give him actual weapons plus that defense, the number 1 overall defense this year so far. Man, maybe I'm seeing this as too much of a team game here, but it is. It is a team game. You need to have weapons around you, and I just think that I don't know. Jonathan Taylor is not as robust of an impact on that team with Anthony Richardson at quarterback. Michael Pittman has completely fallen off the radar. I mean, Josh Downs. Legit wide receiver, man. He's going to be a very good player for years to come for that Colts team. And I think Anthony Richardson finally found the connection with him this past week. That did give me some reassurance overall that he is able to throw the ball. But at the same time, who are they playing, Zoo? Who are the Colts playing this past week, man? The Jets. And they barely beat them at home. I mean, I'm not trying to take away from his win. He had a great final drive. He had that rushing touchdown to win it. But let's not crown the man. He got benched for a couple games for the right reasons, let's be honest. Was it a good call for the long run? No, of course not. Flacco ain't the answer. But maybe it did light a fire under Anthony Richardson. I just think that the combination between Nix and Payton is more valuable to the overall team than Steichen and Anthony Richardson. And I don't know, maybe I'm not playing the ceiling game here, but I just think Bo Nix is a more poised quarterback. He's more mature. Yes, that points to his experience. I understand that. But that's huge. That is huge. Some of the most successful quarterbacks we've had in the last 20 years either sat behind other quarterbacks to start their careers. They stayed a lot longer in college. We've seen people talk about that for a long time now. Even Mahomes said his entire rookie year. He came in the last week. Now, is that as much experience as Bo Nix? No. But it does definitely add value. And you give the fact that Sean Payton worked with one of the greatest of all time in Drew Brees. I'm sure Bo Nix could call Drew Brees anytime he wants and pick his brain because of that connection with Sean Payton. So I don't know. I just think I like his maybe not play style more, but I like his poise for being he's still a rookie. I know he has experience, but he is still a rookie in the NFL. And it's been actually impressive with his poise. And I think that's what's selling me on him.
No, I agree with the poise aspect. Because it's funny we're talking about how old Bo Nix is. I saw a tweet actually earlier today where a guy was looking at a Bo Nix highlight, and it was not really highlighting Bo Nix, but it was the other team, a player that's in the NFL now, another team. And they're like, wait, when the hell did Bo Nix play for Auburn? Is this AI? What the hell? But people don't realize he started at Auburn because he has a legacy with his dad there, and then he kind of went to Oregon for 2 years and kind of turned up in that system. So I'm with you on the Bo Nix and Sean Payton relationship because I do think that while his ceiling, I stick to what I said before the draft. His ceiling is going to be capped. I think he can be a game manager plus with Sean Payton. And in certain instances, as we see in this league, if, you use your draft capital that you got from different types of teams and things like that, and you can get some weapons in there. Yeah. like Russell Westbrook, but Wilson with the who's actually playing well this year. Congrats on him. But what's funny about that is if you're able to maybe shift some stuff over and get some pieces for him to work with, like another guy to go with Cortland Sutton, or maybe get a real RB1 that's not Javonte Williams or the estimate guy. Like if you get another piece that can help him stay at that ceiling, as long as Peyton is there, it definitely could be a situation where now, granted, we know they're in the division with the Chiefs, so like that's a little different. It's not like you're going to be running around winning that division, but you can certainly make yourself viable for the playoffs year in and year out. So that's contingent on Peyton staying. To me, it's just always about the leverage play. And to your point, people, about the starts in college, that's why I always advise. Like, perfect example of this is Garrett Nussmeier, who's got, like, I think, an offensive coordinator, dad, whatever. He's, like, got NFL bloodline. So a lot of them think, like, well, he's got this dad or uncle, whoever, who's been in NFL for a while, so he'll maybe be able to just come in and go into the draft and maybe get drafted high and still be able to, I guess, transition well into the NFL. And it's like, the only way you transition well in the NFL as a quarterback or any position on the field, like, you got to play. And the thing with Richardson and not coming out on him is he just didn't have enough starts. Like, he was there in 2020, 2021, and then he actually started the 12 games that next year, or that 2022 year. But the thing about it is, those years before that, he came in and played. He didn't start. So, like, it's a different thing when you're coming off the bench or coming in on the third quarter and maybe throwing a couple out routes or maybe running for a 40-yard touchdown. Like, that's no type of game pressure. It's different when you come in and you're known to be the starter and they're game planning for you. And any type of, you can just go down the list of quarterbacks. I've said this a million times on the podcast, but that one-year wonder stuff, like, that don't work. Because in the NFL, there are guys who are trying to feed their families who are going to break down every single part of your tape and be like, this is what he doesn't do well. This is what he doesn't do well. This is what he does well, but we can take this away. Things like that. So the more starts you have as a quarterback is also you're playing games, but you're seeing different coverages. You're seeing different defensive coordinators because stuff changes in college football landscape too, to where this DC coordinator that was at this school is now at a different school, and now the new school's got a defense coordinator that's going to show you a different look, and you'll be able to have experience seeing that. So now it's easy to say that as a person who, I guess, has a fantasy football rooting interest, or that's your favorite team. But like, if these guys have millions of dollars in their face, I mean, and they're saying like, what, Anthony went 4? I mean, you can't turn that down. You go 4 because you never know what could happen in the sport of football. You can get hurt, but it's just saying if you have the luxury of staying, you would rather get those starts. So, my theory is he got benched because he said that quote on the podium, saying I was tired, and like, you can't say that. And I said that when he did that, I said, you can't say that. You got to lie. Nobody's gonna know you're lying, but he said that, so it's kind of like he probably got pressure. Coach staff got pressure from the owners, like, come on, sit him down for a little while. But to me, the only way he's gonna get better is if he keeps playing. Like I said, I use the Josh Allen example. Do I think he has Josh Allen ceiling? No, because Josh Allen is kind of on a different path of maybe becoming an MVP. But I think it could be similar because it's a reason why he went forward. To me, it's always about coaching your players, and I think Steichen is a good coach. Now, I also was the same person who thought Brian Daboll was a good coach, but I mean, he had Daniel Jones, and I think Anthony Richardson has a better track record, or at least a better mold of clay that he can use, and Steichen can maybe mold that and he can make Richardson become a great player. So I'm going to go with Richardson. I just think there's a lot of things he can do, and Bo, I feel like, can get you to the playoffs and maybe win your divisional. Anthony, if he hits, can get you to the Super Bowl and win. And to me, I'd rather always take that chance on a guy like that. Because no matter how much Peyton, I think, can scheme, Drew Brees, like, I think the thing that's weird about Drew Brees is, like, and not saying you guys, but I feel like he's a Hall of Famer, of course, but I think people's like, well, he's short and he didn't have strong arm. But, like, Drew Brees is real. Like, he's elite. Like,
he's accurate.
Bo Nix may even have better, like, maybe traits. But Drew Brees, accuracy-wise and like his just movement, he's crazy elite. So he wasn't just he wasn't like Sean Payton. Him was a great marriage, but I do think that a lot of that was Drew Brees because he just said him on that turf in New Orleans, he's a monster. So like I said, I think Bo was kind of still limited. I will say I was wrong. Like, I didn't think he was gonna be this like 4 touchdown pass good. I thought he would be like what I thought Bo's stat lines would be like. I thought Denver maybe would be around this record, and his stat lines would be like 189, a rushing touchdown, and 1 throwing touchdown, and like maybe a pick or 2. That's what I thought his stat line would be, and he would grow. But he's kind of getting it. So it does speak to Sean Payton in that institution because he ain't got nothing around him.
No, and
Sutton and who else?
And they should have beat the Chiefs, man. He almost beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You know, like he's not shying away from big games. I mean, the Falcons are top of their division. They're the same record as the Broncos.
Whooped them.
They were hot. The Falcons have been hot, and they just whooped them. I mean, and look, maybe that's what I think. My caveat with Bo Nix is that I'm seeing this as more of like a Broncos. And Sean, I think this really is a similar argument to Brock Purdy. Right. Yeah. You could argue that he's on a very similar track to Brock Purdy on impact, but you got to admit, Brock Purdy's had a great season. I mean, he actually has, and that's been with a hobbled team. So I'm not saying that Bo Nix is going to be Purdy, 1A, 1B, but that is a pretty good comparison for kind of sneaky rushing ability, can make good throws on the run.
Bo is an athlete for sure.
And the thing is, what's impressed me the most is he has a 14-6 touchdown to interception ratio. And for how much he runs, only one fumble this year. Not many other rushing quarterbacks can say that to their name. And so, I mean, without the tush push, he's still got 4 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty impressive for an undersized rushing quarterback, as you might say. So
yeah. Well, it's gonna be interesting.
Like dynasty, so I'm all in next year.
And there's a guy in our league who he's not gonna make the playoffs, but he picked him up and he's been cooking for him.
Yeah,
a guy dropped him because he's his backup, and Bo Nix has been cooking for him. So that's definitely got fantasy wise. Like I wouldn't mind him as like my quarterback on the bench. But he's probably the cat is out the bag. So I mean, he's not gonna go low where I think he would go. So if I was lucky enough to get him, like if I would have had some foresight and just like, and this is funny, like fantasy wise, like I had Jaden Daniels and Anthony Richardson, and I lucked out having Jaden. That's why I kind of didn't care about Anthony Richardson. But like, if I could have had the foresight, be like, you know what? Let me get Jaden late and Bo even later, and just get some other positions. I could have been eating good, but all this stuff is hindsight.
Hindsight 2020, man.
Nobody knew Bo was gonna be doing all this crap. Like, come on.
What do you mean, dude? I drafted him 3rd round of Dynasty. I knew he was gonna pop off, man. Now, the only reason is Penix went to pick before, and I wanted Penix.
He's going to be interesting to see if whenever he actually comes out and actually plays, which probably won't be for a while. But I would love to see where he goes fantasy-wise because I think he might be a pretty decent guy that you can get late in the drafts. But speaking of drafts and bets and just the disappointing – listen, we preface this, like I think we may have said this on the pod, but like, these parlays are just going to be tough.
Brutal.
And I'll just start with I'll let you start people with your thing, but just to give a quick review of what I did. Like, I'm so mad because once I got off the pod and like I got off talking with y'all, I was like, I should have just did a straight Seahawks bet with the 49ers. I should have just did that because they were like 5.5, 6, I think. It's like their spread and like their money line was like in the 2+200. I was like, God. And then when I saw Gino run that touchdown, I was like, oh, they got it on the money line. I was like, oh, man.
I would have smashed that once Kittle was confirmed out because that would have been a great bet. I mean, the 49ers blew that game, and like I said earlier, Bosa's loss was huge, but that would have been a hell of a bet right there.
Yeah, furthermore, once I get to my bet, I'll be talking about like which ones I want to emphasize and just put that on there if you don't want to do the parlay. But I was like, man, I could just hit a single on the Seahawks, like because it's just the NFC West, man. They've battled like I don't know. Go ahead, people.
Well, all I'll say is, man, you just don't bet against the Bills, man. Don't bet against the Bills at home. But we'll save that for Zoo's portion. Oh man, just a tough week. I know I highlighted a couple quarterbacks last week. Big ones being Purdy, Bo Nix, obviously paid off huge. That lineup got me some nice cash. My Jared Goff lineup also did extremely well, but I did not have David Montgomery. You needed the triple stack with Amon-Ra and D-Mont in there. The guy that ended up winning the million, he dropped 240, and he had Jared Goff, D-Mont, Amon-Ra, and he started Taysom Hill, which was the contest winner at tight end. And to be honest, you know what? Hunter Henry was my pick this week. Solid floor guy. Same or similar price to Taysom Hill, so that could have been a huge change. I mean, you're talking a 45 piece. One of the weirdest stat lines as well that you'll ever see: interception, fumble, 150 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns or 3 rushing touchdowns, something like that.
3. Yeah.
If you didn't have Taysom, you weren't winning big money. So I broke even a little bit above break even this week, so I'll take it. The Russell Wilson lineup just did not hit at all like I thought it was going to. Just such a boring, ugly game between Baltimore. But once again, the Steelers find a way, man. 6 field goals, Chris Boswell MVP.
Chris Boswell.
God almighty.
I need that brother on my team.
Yeah. But, this week there's a couple interesting matchups, some games I'm highlighting. I think the Detroit-Indianapolis game is going to be the one to play around heavily. I do think the Minnesota-Chicago game will be interesting as well. I think with the Vikings faltering, I think with the Thomas Brown change at offensive coordinator, they're really trying to get DJ Moore the ball. So DJ Moore is definitely a wide receiver if you want to go a little cheaper. Rome Odunze is also a guy I've been considering this week as well. From the Arizona and Seattle game, not too high on a bunch of Arizona guys. I think they spread the ball around a decent amount. Marvin Harrison doesn't have the pop-off ability that people expected him to have his first year. But I do like Smith and Jigba this week. I think that could be a nice play. And then the last game that I'm targeting heavily is San Fran and Green Bay. Now, I'm not going to do a stack on either one because it's kind of hard to pick between Jordan Love and Brock Purdy of who's going to have the better game. Kind of got to wait and see with the Kittle situation. I ain't starting Christian. It's just impossible to pick a stack with the Packers, I guess is the only way to put it, because it could be Romeo Dobbs. It could be Jaden Reed.
Jaden Reed, yeah.
Tucker Kraft had been having a monster year, and then he got a goose egg. I mean, it's really hard to predict. But so I mean, the stack I'm going to go with is I'm going to run it back. I'm going to do Jared Goff, and I'm going to do Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to go expensive there. I'm going to tie it back with Jahmyr Gibbs as well. I think they're just going to have a monster week between the three of them. Maybe that's a little bit of riding the wave a bit, but I just think that this Indianapolis team can score with a lot of teams, and so keeping it relatively close would be huge for this matchup overall. I know you guys were just hating on him, but Javonte Williams against the Vegas Raiders, I think it just plays into this. It's the game script. It's the game script. And what you do there is if you have to save it running back because now it's so overinflated that Tyrone Tracy is more expensive than Brian Robinson. I mean, that's just kind of at this point. So B-Rob might be a good target. He's got some value. But if you can do Javonte with the Broncos defense on the back end to kind of do a little stack that way, that's kind of what I'm eyeing this week. And then, the other big drop-off that I just wanted to highlight for people, you got the big players between Kelsey, Bowers, Kittle, all that. You get down to Kate Otten at $5,500. It drops immediately by $1,100 or $1,200 to Jake Ferguson. I mean, you were talking you have to pay up a tight end this week if you want to be relevant. So I actually have a double stack in one lineup with Kelsey and Bowers. Those are kind of – Kelsey against the Carolina Panthers might actually feast this
that
week.
spread is crazy. It's like plus 10.5. They might go crazy. And
that's also with Pacheco might not even be playing, so Kareem Hunt could be a play if you want to go for that as well. But, yeah, I mean, it's just – it's definitely getting a lot harder as you get later on in the season. But I do want to highlight one wide receiver on the Packers. I think Romeo Dobbs might actually be the guy this week. And the only reason I say that is watching Seattle play San Francisco, and I know, Zhu, you were talking about how good their defense is. Smith and Jigba was exposing them. Yep. And he's exposing them on a lot of short routes, slants, kind of out routes. That's Romeo Dobbs territory. Jaden Reed's kind of the big play guy, obviously Christian Watson as well. Romeo Dobbs is kind of the underneath Cooper Kupp kind of player, and I think that's where they might actually maybe be able to move the ball against this Niners team. And he's pretty cheap at $4,600, actually cheaper than Odunze this week. So I kind of like him as a cheap wide receiver play this week. It's all Jared Goff, man. I'm riding the wave.
Riding the Detroit wave, because if you got Detroit guys on your fantasy team, Jesus Christ, everybody eats.
I got D-Mont. Let's go.
Yep. Everybody eats. Not one running back, but two running backs. Not one wide receiver, but two wide receivers. The only guy that ain't eating this year is Sam Laporta. Everybody else eating good. Everybody else eating good. Yep. So, yeah, that Detroit offense is something special. So that stack is a nice stack for sure, for sure. Last week, man. I see Chiefs money line plus money. I have no regrets on this bet. Watching the game, it kind of went what I thought. Because usually Chiefs start a little slow. Bills come on. And they come back. It's usually back and forth. It was like a one-possession game most of the game. And Josh Allen just made a special play, man.
He did.
Because first of all, it was fourth and 2.
Yeah.
You could kick the field goal. You could have made Pat Mahomes like, yo, you got to come down and score a touchdown to win the game. But they're like, nah, we ain't putting in that brother's hand. We ain't putting it in his hand. We're going to be at a more than one possession lead. Josh Allen scrambles, and he does MVP things. So I got to give all the props to Josh Allen. When he scored, that was a phenomenal run. Like, throughout the game, he was kind of like James Cook got two little bunnies. Like, I don't know what happened to Josh Allen goal line back, but James Cook somehow getting some
Yeah, that 12 touchdowns, Zoo. Remember the 12 touchdown beginning of season rushing parlay? Oh, my. Thank God we didn't hit that.
Yeah. So James Cook was eating. So, like, even Mahomes, Xavier Worthy, they had that weird play where he just runs out of bounds. I'm like, come on. Man. Come on. Like, you get open. You had that awesome touchdown, but he got open again. You got to stay in bounds. You just got to stay in bounds. So I know Mahomes said like it was his fault. He didn't throw him the perfect pass for him to direct him for a touchdown. So missed opportunities there. But for me personally, like Chiefs, they're still an elite team. But this is what I'm saying about the Buffalo Bills, man. You don't sleep on the Bills. They're just perennial AFC. That's what they are. The only team they lose to the Chiefs. I'm like, okay, you lose to the Chiefs. Okay, I could live with that. If you're a fan of this team right now, you're feeling real, real good because Amari Cooper, he's still getting eased in. And this was without Dalton Kincaid, their tight end one.
And Keon Coleman.
Yeah, and their rookie wide receiver who's playing very, very well this year. He ain't a wide receiver one alpha dog, but he's playing a nice complementary role in this offense right now where there's no definitive number one option that's getting force-fed the ball. It's more of a everybody gets to eat type of offense.
Chiefs of last year.
Yep. Exactly. They pivoted from the wide receiver one and go with a more dispersionary offense right now. So right now, like he did that without two key weapons, and that offense against this Chiefs defense, which is really, really good, and able to score 30 points in that team. Yeah. I am extremely impressed. This is the only team I'm worried about in the Chiefs Super Bowl three-peat that I'm worried about. Like,
well, that kind of went into a big futures conversation. So, Zoo, I don't know if your bet was a futures bet this week.
You guys already know about my futures bet. Like, I'm all in on the Chiefs. Especially got a free bet of $200. Put it all on the Chiefs. Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. So I am riding with them. I'm not riding with them this week because Chiefs and covering the spread. They don't really cover the spread against bad teams. They just play around with the fruit. Man. They just never cover. It's always like somewhat competitive, and then they beat them at the end. So for me, that ain't the bet. For me, speaking of the Ravens, this game, Ravens-Chargers, I see Baltimore -3. I'm going with the dogs. The Chargers at home over the Baltimore Ravens. I love this Chargers team.
Not bad.
Like, head coach, quarterback, like we just knew that fit was just so it's just splendid. Lad McConkey for a rookie with an offense that's not very aerial, he is very productive for a rookie receiver in an offense that doesn't throw the ball that much, that relies on the rush game. So this Lad McConkey guy is showing out as like this guy could maybe be a wide receiver one for this team. Well, maybe more of a wide receiver two. But right now in this offense, the Chargers and Harbaugh really revitalized this franchise and showing what coaching, especially in the NFL, can do. Yes. Like it's just like this. Like we all knew Harbaugh was a good coach from 49ers to Michigan to now. Yep. Like all this guy, his track record is just absolutely incredible. Like there's other franchises that have. I have questions about when they had a head coach opening. I don't know. All I'm saying is they better have given this guy an offer. That's all I gotta say.
They did.
They better have given an offer, and they better give him every possible dollar that he wanted, because this guy
wanted to play with Herbert.
Yeah,
Okay, that is true. Like you go to a rebuilding situation and you get Justin Herbert. That is a really, really nice situation to go in. But I've been extremely impressed with them, and their running back J.K. Dobbins. This guy's probably comeback player of the year.
Easily.
No, he's definitely
coming back from every possible injury I can think in your lower body extremity, and being this productive, as he said, praise the Lord, because Jesus Christ, this guy beat all the odds, and I'm so happy for this guy because I still remember this is probably years ago. When J.K. Dobbins, Ohio State, I remember Baltimore Ravens. I was like, J.K. Dobbins, this guy is going to be special, but he just kept getting injured. So I'm extremely happy for this guy for having success now. And him, like, he signed up for a really small contract deal. So I hope that he gets paid in the offseason for his production because he deserves it. And for me, the Chargers at home, you get the home dogs covering the spread. I'm going with the Chargers over the Ravens.
I like that bet. We didn't even consider that in the whole Chiefs conversation. The Chargers always play them very well.
Yeah, I'm nervous about them too. I'm nervous about them too.
It's too many teams. Like it's so many teams in the AFC where it's
AFC
like because there's so many good quarterbacks in the AFC. So that's why it's like, and 2 is 3 in a row. Like it's just hard.
That's hard. Like it's hard. It's hard.
You know, it's not as hard as like to your point, people. If the Chargers do somehow split that or whatever, and they figure out that division and they have to play a wild card, it definitely might become really hard for the Chiefs. But like I said, you just better get on top of them because if not, they're gonna win the game in the end. But I actually was thinking about that Baltimore Chargers, putting it in give them 3 parlay. But like I said, when I'm doing this little parlay, preface it. Like you can do the parlay, but I'm gonna emphasize which bet I like the most. So starting off, this is not the bet I like the most, but I was looking at the Broncos, like I said, destroy the Falcons last week because I was invested in that game because I had Falcons money line, which was an awful bet. But looking at the Broncos and Raiders at the Raiders, little stat. Since 2014, the Raiders and Broncos, the Broncos are 7-13 against the Raiders. So I'm thinking like maybe it's because of the division opponent. So maybe the Raiders, 5.5. They're thinking like, oh, maybe we can maybe upset them, maybe get them sleeping because Bo Nix is still a rookie, and you got Max Crosby and other guys on the other side of the ball. So maybe they come in. So I'm looking to see like maybe Raiders money line is building a parlay. After that, Rams Eagles. I just got on here gushing about the Rams. Cross-country flight for the Eagles. I don't know.
Wow. They're hot right now.
Stafford, they look good. And maybe this is a breakout Kyren game. Maybe guys got him on the fantasy team. He's like, I need a breakout Kyren game, and he gives it to you. So, hey, that could be a possibility. And then finishing, which is the bet I think I like the most, is San Francisco versus Green Bay on the road. I think San Francisco kind of just – I mean, I know it's with Rodgers. They dominated them, but, like, they need this game. They can't go 5-6. They got to have it. And I think Green Bay is kind of breathing a sign of relief after beating the Bears on a lucky block or whatever. So it's kind of like the 49ers may come in there and handle them. Plus 2.5 kind of tells me they're coming across the country too. And it's like that's only – I mean, they're plus 2.5. Like, I think they can win that money line. So out of all those, you can parlay that and that – plus 1381, so that's a nice little parlay if you wanted to do that. But if you just want to go and emphasize one game to put your money on, I would probably get San Francisco at plus 2.5. I would do that one if you just want to put a lot of money on that one because I just think they can't, just like last week, they can't go under 500. And I think Shannon after the bye, like I've said a million times, is really good. So that would be the one I want to hammer. But like I said, all 3 of those games, if money line wise, and you can play with those numbers too if you want to maybe do, because I think with the Raiders and Broncos, the spread is 5.5. Now the Rams and Eagles, you're not gonna really get no spread love because I think it's like plus 1.5 for the Eagles or Rams, and then it's plus 2.5 for the 49ers, minus 2.5 for Green Bay. So like I said, the money line's got a little bit more juice on like a parlay. So like I said, it's plus 1381. And if I had to put money on just one bet, it's 49ers. So
that's a pick 'em.
Green Bay is weird. Like I like them, but it's like they don't seem like
they're not there yet.
Yeah,
nah, I don't fear them. I don't fear them.
No,
at all.
They don't have a true wide receiver one. They don't have a true one.
Jaden Reed is, I think, a dude.
He is.
Out of that
but he's not a target fiend. He's not like getting.
He's not.
And Jordan Love, like he throws a lot of interceptions. Like I love watching Jordan Love play because he likes just chucking it deep, like double coverage. He says screw it, but like you can't be throwing that many interceptions against good football teams.
Yeah, part of the reason why I still like Jordan Love is because of the coach. Because it does say something about they don't have a number one, and Jordan Love's still able to kind of look good. So it's kind of, they how he distributes the ball, the coach is able to get him. I mean, he made Malik Willis look pretty good. So that would be probably. But see, Green Bay's weird like that too. They don't draft number one guys in the first round. They just don't do that. So maybe they'll never get a number one, but maybe they'll find a Devontae in a later round and maybe do. Speaking Devontae going to New York, like imagine if he just stayed in Green Bay, how much better it would be. Oh my God, chasing Aaron Rodgers, man.
Shouldn't have done it, man.
But maybe he's not Gretna. He's got a nice little penthouse in New York. He might be neighbors with you, so you don't know. Might be neighbors with you up there. You don't know.
He's living in Long Island City, man. Come on, man.
You never know. He might be walking down the street and he's like, I heard you talking shit on the podcast. What's up? But that was my bet for this week. Like I said, with the parlays, good luck. If you want to put your money on that, you might be able to get a nice payday. So with this bet segment, make sure you guys are tuning in on our podcast. Quantro Knows for YouTube, Tyson Talks on Instagram, TikTok, our audio platforms, Apple, Spotify. You can listen to us there. And if you do listen to us there, please give us a 5-star review. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are out.